All right, I think we covered it all, man.
Yeah.
What happened? I thought we had a 20-minute hard out.
Yeah. Welcome to our show. This is the Forecast, a kitesurfing pod where we discuss current events and topics. My name is Michael Ericsson, and to use his own words, that of course is Adrian Kerr. Nice to see you again, Adrian.
Oh, good to be back. Good to be back.
What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Oof, man, I'm always busy. You know, I've got a lot of podcasts going on and the live stream, which has been good. I'm obviously on holiday, so I do seem to have a lot more time, which I'm not using very constructively. I'm just pushing harder on the podcast, but I'm going to change the podcast a little bit this month and just do some longer pieces, maybe not as many episodes. So that's going to be just to give myself a bit more time, because I feel like I'm pushing and not really taking time for myself. So it's going to be hopefully a little bit of a change, you know?
Yeah, I see that you have been quite busy with the podcast. It's amazing for me that I'm also on vacation, so I'm listening to your podcast and the live shows as much as I can when I'm out traveling or in the garden, you know. So
yeah, the live shows have actually been a bit of a breath of fresh air, actually, because a bit like this, I don't really have to worry too much. I can sort of enjoy them a bit more because I can sit down and just talk and have some fun. Where the podcast, I'm very careful about the narrative for people who are listening. So yeah, those live streams are fun, man. I mean, actually, some of the best times are actually after the live stream when we hang up. I normally call the rider back and we have a few drinks. And I think Tom and I got a bit carried away. Tom Cord and I got a bit carried away the other night. I think we stayed on for about 3 hours online. So that was a bit of fun.
It's something that we have discussed here as well, to actually have a bit of a drink when we do these shows. Maybe it's a bit too early now in the morning, but
absolutely, yeah.
Next time.
Exactly. It's COVID, man. I'm blaming COVID. COVID's a good blame for everything.
Yeah, exactly. We blame everything on COVID. All right, the topic for this show is measuring devices, like Woo and similar like that. But first, I would like to just say that the last time we spoke in the last episode, we talked about the GKA distance battle. And if the listeners haven't heard or seen that one, we will link it below so you can find it and also, of course, check that one out too. But we did have a couple of questions afterwards or during the show that we said that we were trying to get some answers on from the GKA. I haven't got any answer from them. It's vacation time maybe for them as too. But have you heard from them, Adrian?
Yeah, no, I reached out to a few people and no answer. I don't know whether one part of the question, which about the equality of men and women, I said, hey, that can be off the record if you want, and they didn't reply to that. And also the other big question I think is, you know, how are they going to judge the same heat over and over and over? You know, the same videos. So I'm still pushing that. I don't really want to keep pushing it because I'm being careful about not overstepping the mark on that. So yeah, as soon as I know and as soon as I get answers, I'll bring it up I'll definitely bring it up in the next forecast.
Yeah, good. Because of course it is interesting both for us, but also for other people to know how it will work. All right, but today's topic is, as we said, measuring devices. And one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this topic up now is that just recently we saw that Woo released their Pro subscription model, which of course we will go into details and look more into it. But before going into specifics, what are your feelings about the whole idea of measuring devices and measuring your sessions, Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because, I mean, I can openly say I've never been a Woo owner or a Woo fan, and neither am I a Woo expert as well. But the main problems I have with that, I was speaking to Mike McDonald, who used to be the Woo record holder, about it, and he sort of agrees. There's sort of two camps in Woo. You've got the people who are having fun with their community and friends, and that's great. And then you've got the guys at the upper echelon who are pushing for world records. But you've probably seen this before, Michael, where you go down and, you see someone like, oh, I've just jumped 12 meters, and you're like, you went 5 meters, So I think people are always, people are always careful about the woo, right? It's very like, I've never had a woo because it's just not, it's never really interests me. I mean, I know where I'm jumping compared to my friends. I don't need to be qualified on that. But hey, how many times have we seen it? Hey, I've just broke 10 meters, and you're like, I don't know about that. You're about 3 meters off the water. So there seems to be those two camps, right? People who are using it to their own good or having fun with their friends, and then the guys at the top level.
Mm. No, I agree with you. Of course, I've seen some friends that just got one really, I wouldn't say really high jump, but compared to the rest of the jumps they had. But then again, I mean, it's more. I'm very pro the whole idea, and the reason for that is because I've seen my progression thanks to these devices. I never really tried to jump any height, jump high before I got my first woo. But then I progressed, and I tried to beat my own record. I'm not trying to. Of course, it's fun with the community to try to be on top of your friends in the list, but it's still my progression, and that's where I think the Woo Pro features are quite interesting. We will go into those, of course, later on as well. But and also the community. I think what Woo has managed to do is to build an amazing community around it, and I do think that is interesting. But
absolutely,
I understand. I mean, looking at it from an amateur point of view compared to a pro point of view, it's two different kind of things,
I don't know if you saw a few years ago, Yuri and Laurie from Our Kite Life. They did a very, very in-depth study where they had the Woo 1 and the Woo 2 on their board. And I think they've registered hundreds of jumps and got it on video, and they broke it all down. And the Woo 2 jumped higher than the Woo 1, and I think the Woo 3 jumps higher, but little percentages, right? And when I spoke to Leo Koenig about that, he's just like, that's just the technology getting better. And I can't say that is or isn't, but if you look at that video, Our Kite Life, every now and then there's an outlier. There's an outlier an outlier jump that either spikes or is missed, and whether that's gonna happen less as the technology improves or happened more in the early stages, I don't know. But their video is pretty good. They've done a good. I reached out to him to ask him his feelings on it, and he just said they're not really been using the Woo lately. So I'm sure they'll get into the Woo because they enjoy that type of stuff,
Yeah, and just for information, Leo is the founder and CEO of Woo Sports. We can also say that Woo is one device, which is the most used, as far as I know, at least. We also have two other devices or apps and devices that we will discuss a bit, and that's PIQ, I think it's called.
Is that even still? Is the PIQ even still around? I don't know. Is it still being sold?
The website is up, and I know that there are coming updates in the app because I have a friend who uses it. The interesting part of the PIQ device is that you can see on your board the height you got from the latest jump. And also you can see if you want to, you can set to see the highest you had during the session, etc. I actually bought a PIQ once, and I had both the Woo and the PIQ on my board, and there were, of course, quite a lot of differences between the jumps. The highest jump wasn't even the same number in the jump. But then again, I know that they are both devices are trying to remove when you have a jump that are questionable. So it is most likely that some of the jumps were removed, and that's why the numbers didn't match up. But the PIQ device you can actually use for many other things as well. But with the Woo, you can use it for like snowboarding, etc. But PIQ, they have a device you can put it on like boxing gloves. You can put it on tennis, rackets, etc. So
look, I think it's tough for PIQ, right? And it's tough for Surfr, the Surfr app, which is the other one, to come in when Woo is so established. I mean, it's like having a product that's been accepted and works, and the name Woo has become synonymous with measuring height, to bring another product into the market and try and grab your space, right? Those guys must be up against it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, there's a new player on the field called the Surfr app, and we will link to that as well. What they do is a bit different. They are not selling a device. They are actually giving away the app, as it is for now at least, and then they are selling the mount that you put on your board. And the difference here is that the mount or the housing is for your phone. So you can take your ordinary cell phone and you put it in the housing, and then you have it with you outside, out when you're out kiting. And of course, you have a really big screen, so you see the height of the jump.
Hey, that you know what, man? It sounds awesome and it looks great, but the day it goes wrong and your brand new Samsung or iPhone goes to the bottom of the ocean, it's not going to be so cool. I know they say there's a tie to protect it, but look, I think it sounds really good, and I like the angle, right? It's free. You buy the housing, you're going to make our money off the housing, but aftermarket housing is going to come in if it's a success. So they're going to have to go back and charge for the app. But hey, it's an expensive mistake.
Mm. Yeah, and they actually do mention that on their website. Make sure that you're not losing your board, because I don't think that the mounting, the housing will actually fall off very easily. I tried to just pull off my Woo mount, and it's really, I mean, it's on there. But if you lose your board, then you lose your phone for sure. I myself have downloaded the app. I have an account there. I haven't tried it yet because one, I don't have the mount, and two, I actually haven't really thought about putting it on when I'm gone out surfing. But you can actually, some friends of mine have used it with just a waterproof like what's it called where you put your like phone in,
a lanyard or something like that.
Yeah, and then they can see all the other measuring values that the app actually gives you. So it's GPS and it's speed and it's a lot of other things that you can see there. But you won't get the height, of course. Then.
Look, the concept. Personally, I think the concept's great. I would like them to bring out like maybe a thin, small waterproof membrane that can be stuck on the board that can show you the same information. Again, I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of things that can go wrong that can lose your phone, right? You lose your board, it falls off, it knocked off, big waves, chop, stuff like that. Everything can cause it. And for what? You're getting speed. You can get that stuff off a GPS phone, a Garmin, any type of smartphone can give you that information as well.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be a balancing act between, and it's typical human nature, right? We need to know everything right now. What's the difference? Hey, if you had a big Woo session, you get home and you're excited, you plug your Woo in, it downloads your things. What's the difference from seeing the downloads or actually seeing it on the spot? I mean, that's really what they're saying, right? We're going to give you information now. It's that, excuse me, it's that human nature to have, I want it now, I want it yesterday, type stuff. But look, it seems to me to be a great thing because it is, as you said, relatively cheap to get involved in. You're getting the housing, you're putting it on, you're using your own phone that you already get. I want to know next, how accurate is it? The accuracy is going to be the next step for me because the way I look at it is this way. I look at Woo as the big boy in the market. They're the player. They got 4 or 5 years or 6 years of history where they're gathering data, tightening things up, getting it more accurate and working. It's like having anything that you've put time into. You can start establishing patterns that work. You come into the market with this, like the PIQ, when you put the PIQ in the Woo, they're going to be all over the place because they're different technologies. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I just think that, like anything, right? Let the people test it. Let the people test it because it sounds great on paper and it looks like it works. But when it goes to market and the mass people get involved, then we'll see the problems.
I totally agree with you. And there's one guy that already have tested, had both Woo and the Surfer app on this board. And see the difference between them. Now, since the mount hasn't really come out, the pre-order, I actually got an email today that said that now we open for the next phase of the pre-order. So hopefully the mounts will be in people's hands now in the first batch in August, but most of them in September, I think they said.
But there are guys already posting scores, right? If you look at the Surfer app website, there are guys like Ollie Overbeek, those type of guys. There are actually guys posting 20-meter jumps and stuff at this time. Now, I don't know whether those guys are testers for the product, because there's definitely guys already putting scores up.
Yeah, and that's where I was going as well. So I think that the reviews we see right now is I'm not so confident that they're not, in some way sponsored by the Surfer app. I wouldn't say they're paying them, but they're some sort of early testers or something like that. Because since you can't really buy the housing yet, so I don't know how they have managed to maybe create their own or something.
I mean, it sounds so stupid, right? But there is some weight to this. By the way, there is some weight to this, I mean, it's not much, but there is some weight. And I mean, as kite surfers, as you wanting to do records, you really want to be as light as possible, right? You don't want to be riding heavy boards. I mean, there is something to say to this. Okay, it's marginal, but it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, your cell phone. Yeah, it is. It's a little bit for sure on it. I don't see that as a big issue when it comes to the weight of the board. But yeah, I think it's interesting to as you say, to follow this Surfer app as well and see where it's going. I don't think that they will anytime soon challenge Woo, because I do think that the thing that got me to stick with the Woo as the preferred device for me, and as I've told you before, I have my Woo on every single time I go out. It's always on there, and I enjoy, seeing the community. Even though I post a session that's not, my highest score, we still have a communication on the Woo, in the Woo app, in the community about the sessions, etc. So, if the Surfer app, they need to build a really good community to be able to be part of the game, I think. But one thing that might be in their advantage is the fact that it's basically free. And as you said, if you can find a housing that are even cheaper, I think the housing will be like 30 euros.
Yeah. I mean, these things are supposed to be waterproof, right? Supposed to be
phones,
supposed to be waterproof. I mean, you could just, if you really wanted to get ghetto, you could just tape this to your board, right, and just see. Maybe you should reach out to Surfer and say, "Hey, look, I've got the Kite Games, so I'm going to make one of my challenges is to post a whole lot of Surfer scores, and then try and link in with them and get some gear and start doing some testing for you guys and include it in the Kite Games."
Yeah, that is actually a thought that I've had as well, and I have a friend who has quite a lot of communication with them. So we are trying to set some things up and have a discussion around it. So we are mostly now talking about measuring, big air sessions. There are also other things, and now I think we can come into some where we are both quite. We're a bit more negative about what you can use, for example, the Woo, and that's the freestyle setting.
I really want to speak to some people who are using that. I think they should save money and take the freestyle setting off, because I don't know anyone who uses it. And the snowboard setting, I mean, who's using the snowboard setting?
No, the snowboard setting I've never seen or actually digged into. I don't know if it's...
There was a snowboard setting at one stage, wasn't there? Maybe
I think there still is. No, I think there still is. But as you said, I haven't really looked into it. I do snowboard myself, but I haven't really thought about putting my Woo on because I don't snowboard in that way, doing a lot of jumps and spins, etc. I do, however, use the freestyle setting for kite when I kiteboard. I don't go freestyling too often, but when I do, as I said, I always have my woo on, so I put on the freestyle setting there.
And what do you get from that? What does it tell you?
It doesn't tell me much, to be honest.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, but I mean, and for me, it's more of I measured the time I'm out on the water, basically, and of course, I must say that the measurement of the tricks are better today than what it was when they first released it. Maybe it's me that makes the tricks more accurate. I don't know, but to begin with, I did like back to blind, and it said it was just a back roll or something like that. It wasn't that accurate, but now it's much better. But to be honest, they haven't managed to build a community, and that's where it fails for me. So every time I'm out doing a freestyle session, I end up in basically the European top list. Right.
It seems to me that the data is not set up for that. The measurements are not set up for rotations in that form. Right. It's the accelerometer and whatever they use is set up. By the way, Leo Koenig, when he came on the podcast, he talks a little bit about the technology. I don't know. It's probably in January this year. He came on my podcast. He talks a little bit about the technology in that. So if anyone's more interested in that and listening to Leo talk, because actually it was funny sorry to digress, but when I had Leo on, I was quite sort of, I had a perception of what I thought the woo was, but after he spoke, I was like, wow, they put a lot of time and energy and money into getting this accurate. So it's definitely worth a listen. Actually, he speaks very well. He's very carefully about and very focused on what they want to get out of the woo. So that's definitely worth a listen.
I also, I mean, as you said, they mentioned the differences between the versions of the woo and how they can actually now with better devices and better batteries, etc. They can be more accurate. But yeah, it's and it amazes me how they can actually manage to have quite a good sized company with the woo, because it's not that expensive to buy. But I guess that's one of the reasons why they wanted to release a subscription model to have some recurring income also. I'm one of the guys that usually change my woo every second year. So I sell my 2-year-old device to a friend who wants to start the woo, and I buy a new one. Now with the subscription model, I'm not so sure I will do that. I can probably still use my 3.0 that I have. Actually, I did just sign up for the Pro.
What's that? $7 a month or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I paid a yearly subscription, so then it's a bit cheaper. I think it's down to 4 or something.
It's funny that I did read some people complaining about how expensive it was. And I sort of understand because, like we've all got Netflix, we've all got this, everything is like $7 to $10, right? At the time you think, $7 to $10, that's only a couple of beers a month. I can afford that. But you know what? It's Netflix. It's now Woo. It's your Hulu membership. It's your Amazon. It's your Spotify. I mean, if I look at all my, and my podcast page, all that stuff, if I looked at that, I've probably got over $100 worth of stuff coming out a month just on monthly subscriptions. So someone's fleecing me, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's the micro payment, the whole economics of micropayment. Yeah, it's apps and phones and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, phones, everything. Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, if you get value for money, then it's worth it. I mean, looking at Netflix, for example, you do get value for money. You can stream as much as you want. And the same thing with Spotify. I listen to a lot of music when I'm, everything I do. So it's worth the money. But I do want to see where this Woo Pro is going. So I signed up. And already I can see a little bit more statistics on my sessions that I've had before. I haven't done a session with my phone, which I will do, and because then you get even more statistics from your session. But looking at what you actually get from the Woo Pro.
What's the Woo Pro Plus? What's the plus? That's more money?
No, I think when we say plus, it's you have what they call the big air analytics, and that's what you get with the only the device. So you do get edge, how much you edge, how much you pop, the pop velocity, and the jump graph you get from just using the Woo device. But then they say big air analytics plus. And so then you get,
that's what you can download.
You get more analytics in there: approach track, takeoff speed, jump path, jump distance, and a landing track. If you have your cell phone with you when you're out on your session, so
or after the session, right?
Or after the session, yeah, exactly. So you can see that after your session. The thing is,
it's funny. It's funny. Sorry to interrupt you. I was speaking to Mike McDonald about this, and I asked him about these analytics, and he said, "Look, they're great. That's interesting to see, right? The approach tack and jump distance, everyone can analyze, but the approach tack and the pop and all that, I think you need to put 100 sessions into it to realize what you're looking at." Because if you don't know, or you don't have any reference to what it should be, that's going to mean nothing to you. Okay, over time you can develop a profile in your head of, hey, here I had the perfect takeoff, and here I had the perfect landing, and I can see that I had the perfect jump, perfect height. You'll start putting those all together, but that can only come through repetition. I'll give you an example. I'll use an analogy, right? When I do the podcast, I can put the two lines of dialogue on top of each other, and I can see where spikes are for laughing. I know that because I know the way my laugh looks, or or a laughing track looks. I know what ums are and mistakes. So I don't actually need to listen to the track. I can go through and just highlight those and mute all those sections of the track, because through repetition and history, I can analyze the data. And I think you can probably apply the same stuff to Woo. So this is great information now, but it will get better as you get better, which I think is a good thing. As you look at your approach tacks and your landing tacks over time, you actually can see, oh man, when I took off at this angle to my all these different data that you can get, you actually can probably improve yourself in your height. Does it make sense? I'm rambling a little bit, but I think that it's great now, but it will get better if you can start to analyze that data. And the people who analyze that data, like Mike, who's second in the world record and wants to get back to the top, he said, now I've got data I can actually reference. Okay, I know how it feels, but now I can see. So maybe today we were talking, hey, maybe to get 35 meters, you have to go at 60 knots on a 6 meter kite. And no one's ever been out on a 6 meter kite. They've always been going on bigger kites. So he goes, now I'm thinking maybe the speed's going to be more important, so speed of the kite. So there's all these different factors that are going to come into play. So if this is accurate and Woo can get this right, I think it could be a great tool for the guys at the very upper echelon. How the people below can utilize this data, I don't know.
And I totally agree with you. And I wanted to show just two jumps from one of my latest sessions to exactly point out what you're saying there. Because and I actually, the first thing I did when I saw this was that I sent a question to Woo. They haven't had the time to respond, of course, because I just signed up and I sent a question to them. And it's Saturday today. I don't know if they're answering that. But and for people listening on the podcast, I will explain what we see as well. But this is a 13.4 meter jump that I had. And as you can see, I had an edge of 72.4 degrees, a pop of 9 degrees, and a pop velocity of 22.5. And looking at the next jump, which was probably just a transition, I see that I have an edge of 70 degrees as well, almost 19 degrees of pop. I have no idea what this means. To be honest, and that's what I sent to them. How am I supposed to use? There should be some sort of.
I guess that is that degrees are average at the ball. If you're just doing like as you come into pop to jump up, you're probably only about that, right? But if you are doing a transition, you're probably digging hard up into the wind to pop up to ride back the other way. It's not going to look so good for the thing. So maybe that 39 and 70 are the angle of the board in the water. I guess when you are coming to turn, especially to do like a jump transition, you're probably digging that back foot harder into the water to pop up to go back downwind. Where if you're riding, you can't dig that deep into the water, right? Because you got so much power in the kite. So that 13.4 meters, maybe the board was only on 40 degrees as you exited the water. But again, that's the information that you don't know right after one or two sessions.
No,
it's the information that's going to be more. You're like, hey, this one I got 22. I can see my board angle here's 39. So I need. And it's not about getting 39. It's going to be like, that's the feel I'm looking for. That's, I think, my take of it. You're going to look at that and say, that's the feel. So I know now if I if I try too hard to go upwind or don't get it right, my angle might be 45, 50, right? But my height is less. So I think that will help you build up your feeling.
And it's really hard to build up a feeling of the right values if I don't know the feeling of that specific jump. So that's the whole idea of it. Yeah. I mean, it's really hard for me to know what is. And actually, what I sent to them is that, okay, if I want to jump the absolute highest I can, what are the perfect values to aim for? I'm not sure I even know how to try to aim for those values, but for me, it's numbers, right? And it's good if I learn how to, and someone needs to teach me how to analyze them. But for me, I mean, as I said, I have progressed a lot with the Woo. It helped me to reach higher in my jumps. I would say that this is probably something that aren't for the highest boosting guys in the world and girls. Maybe it's I feel like this is more for me, but I need a little bit more help to analyze the data.
It'd be interesting to see what I'm actually going to have Mike on the podcast over the next few days, so I'll ask him about Woo Pro. I'll write that down, and I'll ask him about, because Mike and Yannick, they're very big on this pre-hop loading pop before they jump. Yeah. As they steer the kite up, they jump in the air, and as the kite gets to 12, they dig the kite back, the board back in the water and steer up, and that gives them that extra spring out of their lines. So I'm going to ask him, does that pre-pop affect the velocity? Because maybe the board's out in the air, maybe there's the misreading. So I'll ask him about that.
Yeah, you can probably see from his data. We are talking about Get High with Mike, and of course we will link his account below as well. He has many good tutorials if you want to jump higher. So you can get a lot of data from the Woo Pro, but also I'm curious to see what other things they have coming for the Woo Pro. They have something they call games. I'm guessing that it is where you can actually go out with your friends and have specific community-based games against each other. They have something called Free Ride, and I saw that Nick Jacobson actually posted one of his free ride sessions. I don't think that will be a big thing, not for me at least. To be honest, it seems to be more things that you can measure with your phone, like how far you have traveled and speed and everything.
I think distance is a good one. I think that's going to be a fun thing, because you hear pros talking traveling 150 meters, 200 meters. So I think distance is going to be a fun one. I think, the height is going to be awesome, but hey, I've got the longest Woo distance, Like I remember Ollie Bridge the other day did that, where Ollie Bridge was on that fly surfer and he must have gone 400 meters, so that would have been quite a cool one as well. So it'll be interesting to see if some new leaderboards come out of Woo for this.
Yeah, it's flight distance, exactly. Yeah. And I think might even be that you can filter on that already.
Yeah, but nobody knows
airtime. I know is
airtime. Yeah. So maybe as this becomes more accurate, it will. That could be a new leaderboard to get excited about.
Yeah.
Also, they'll probably some guys will probably cheat on that, right, and jump up and be doing a toe up. They'll go up as high as possible and just come down slowly for some type of record. But I know that Leo told me, said, hey, we get all types of crazy scores being sent in where people are trying to break the system or cheat or whatever. I mean, pretty much he said if anything comes out of anywhere else in the world that's not high wind and it's a 40 meter plus, it's being faked or it's a outlier.
It's great to hear that they are analyzing some of the data that is coming in, because otherwise it would be you have to rely on it. And I listened to your podcast with Janek Gregorczewski. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name faulty there, but and he said that he's not using the Woo device or any device because there's a 1 in 1,000 jump, I think he said, is faulty, and then it's not that interesting for him to be using it, and to have as a measure device for the world's highest. I can understand that, but for me as an amateur just trying to progress and want to be part of the community, I can accept that. But I mean, again.
They do, by the way, I mean, you just said, but they do, if you get a real outlier score and you send it to Woo, they'll call you back or send you an email within a few hours and they'll ask you for all the information about it. So don't feel like these scores are being put up, the top scores, don't feel like these top scores have been put up without them being checked and checked again. They don't just check, they check the conditions, they look at the beach, they look at all the other scores of the guys riding at that beach that day. So they, let's say, Misty Cliffs that day when Mike and they're all down there, they check everyone else's scores. They talk to people before they say, okay, that's an official score. They're very, very careful about not putting themselves under the bus too. They don't want to put stuff out there and everyone's like, oh, that's BS, So they are very careful about how they put their top scores up. I think that day, I mean, the funny thing is there's 3 guys at 34, right? Just all crammed in there. Clement, Mike and Josh. So I'm sure those guys want to get 35. Someone wants to get to 35. Then there'll be 40.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be exciting times. I was, if you think back 3 or 4 years, 30 was the record, right? Everyone was trying to get over 30. There's a whole bunch of guys at 29. Then that went through. Then suddenly everyone went over 30. Now we're sitting on the edge of 35. So I think next season we'll explode through 35 and guys will be pushing up. So I think the big one is 40, right? I know that Reading Kites talked about 40. Vantage Kites from out of Holland, they talked about trying to break the 40 meter mark. So there are targets to go over 40 meters. 40 meters is high, man. That's high. That's really super high. Yeah. There's a lot of things to go wrong when you're over 30 meters, right? That's 100 feet. That's very, very. Yeah. Go stand on the top of a 10-story building and look down. It's like that classic scene from Mr. Bean. Remember when he sees the kids jumping off that 5 meter platform, the 5 meter diving board? So he goes up there and looks off, and it's like a whole different game when you're on top of the ladder, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. One thing that I'm looking forward to see a bit more on how it's being used is that in this pro subscription, they will be releasing something they call safety and also live. And safety, of course, is something that I think might be really interesting to see what it is that they're thinking about. We have seen accidents, we have seen even deaths when it comes to kite surfing, and if they have some sort of safety, I'm not sure it's the device or if it's the app, actual app that you have on your phone that will be the safety part. But I do think that is an interesting feature to have in there. All right. Do you looking at the live scoring, since they are releasing that, and also you can have that with the Surfr app? Do you think that we will see more usage of live scoring when it comes to King of the Air, for example, or Mega Loop Challenge?
Well, they do actually ride with Woo at King of the Air. I think Mark Jacobs got the record this year, 22 point something meters, 23 meters maybe. I don't know why they don't put the scores up there or have an accelerometer and show the scores with a graphic. Maybe it's financial. I don't know, but I would like to see that live. I think the problem is that live, it's like having your pants pulled down if something goes wrong, you know? You know, if there is like some crazy outlier score, or hang on a minute, some guy breaks something or does something, and it could make them look bad. I know that they have it there, that they can use it if they need it. So I think live would be really cool. I think especially at events, I think live would be good. I think live would be good at certain levels, but it's hard, you know. I mean, listen, it's when you're talking about like the Clermont, not Clermont, who's the guy at the top? Martin Hager, sorry, Martin. You know, when you're talking about those guys, man, live needs to always come with evidence at the top. Otherwise, it'll just be, oh, he's got it. No, we're going to pull it down. You know, that you can't have that. But I think live for events would be really cool. King of the Air, Megaloot Challenge, anything like that, I think would be a lot of fun.
I think so too. I try to watch live when they are broadcasting it live, and to have the live data of the height of the jump as an extra measurement to discuss and also see, I think it would be really interesting. I know I saw one year they had like a stick out in the water that they put up.
That's at Blueberg.
Yeah,
Big Bay, but they don't ride there anymore. They're shifted from there 3 or 4 years ago.
I know,
so.
I know, but it gave something extra when they say that. Oh, looking at the pole there, then seems to be like 50 meters. So I'm looking forward to see the live data from the device being used.
Could be cool
on competition. For sure.
I think that'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun, you know. Just give something extra to put excitement, especially King of the Air, where height plays such a major factor. It would be good to see, the heights, how they justify their scores, because the scoring is always, let's say, quite controversial at times. So it would be good to see that score, to see that height, you know.
What would it take for you to win you over to buy a Woo?
You know what I mean. Number one, I don't live in a country where we don't get enough high winds to justify getting a Woo. Yeah. You know, Dubai, where it's a light wind spot. I have thought about buying a Woo for when I go down to Oman, because it would be good to because there's not a lot of high Woo scores there. There's some guys down there, but it'd be good to Yannick's on the scoreboard down there. But it'd be good to go after that. But I just don't live in a place where it's just warrants it. You know, I mean, I'd just be putting up numbers I'll be putting up numbers for the sake of putting up numbers, right? Rather than putting up numbers you're proud of. Yeah,
I can understand that. We have
unless you're going to send me one for Christmas, man, I'll stay Wooless until then.
I will think about that. Might be a good gift for you.
here's my old Woo one.
Exactly. No, I don't even have
big.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I think we covered it all, man. What happened to? I thought we had a 20-minute hard out.
Yeah. What's the time now?
It's been about 50 minutes. I don't know. How long have we been talking for?
No, 45 minutes. Yeah, it's interesting topic.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. It's a good one to see, because I think that there's probably guys out there yelling and screaming at us because they're pro Woo, right? I mean, that's cool as well, you know. But look,
I am pro Woo, so they can. I mean, it's just that even if you're pro something, you have to. You can't just what's it called accept everything. You have to see. And with this Woo Pro subscription, I don't see right now that I get the full value of it. Sure. And it's brand new, so it probably will get better. And also, if they have some tutorials for me how to analyze and learn from the numbers, then it will get better. But yeah.
Hey, well, look, Woo is the industry leader, and when you're the industry leader, you know, you can push change, right? If you aren't the industry leader, you have to follow the trends, and there's always a balance between pushing something new or following the trends, right? So, and I think Woo's probably got that right. You know, they are the leaders; they can afford to be a little bit sort of out there, where I think the other places really just have to get in line. So, but look, I hope that PIQ hasn't gone and Surfr does well, because competition breeds change, you know, and it breeds better pricing and stuff like that. So let's see for sure.
Let's see. All right, Adrian, thank you so much. And let's talk soon again and see if we get answers from the GKA, and also if we can. And we of course will follow this topic when you talk to Mike later.
Mike,
as
definitely.
well. Yeah. But
Cool.
until next time, take care of yourself, and
Thank you.
hope you get some time on water as well.
I'm going to go there right now.
Yeah, good to hear. Yeah, cheers, bye.
Bye-bye.